All right. Thank you all. Who is this damn person? Right. Thank you so much. Thank you, everybody. Welcome again to day 11. Thank you for day 11. Thank you for showing up for day 11. Thank you for coming for day 11. I guess we've been off for quite a while. We need to resume our classes and refresh on some of the stuff that we have done. With that way, we could it will actually help us to catch up with what we have done so far. Don't forget that in day one we gave a review of how the boot camp is going to be. At the end, you have to become a total full stack engineer, able to touch on both front end and back end design, able to build project, test projects, take on what we call greenfield projects. Greenfield projects are projects that you start by yourself from scratch. So if you are here from day one, write 100%. If you have been with us from day one, write 100%. 100% if you are here from day one. If you have missed some classes, just 50%, put 50%. If you are here most of the time, you can just write 75%. So we will deal with build tools. We look at JIT. We looked at VS Code. We look at Java installation. We look at Node.js. We look at VS Code. So from there we move on to basic, variable declarations in Java. How to translate a word problem to a technical solution. We look at that, and some of us had an idea of the project that we want to do at the end of this bootcamp. So by now, your project should be becoming clearer. Today, we will be starting with front end. But before we go into front end, let's have a recap of what we did the last time for day 10. We went into object-oriented programming. We look at design concepts. We look at inheritance. We look at inheritance. We look at OOP, and then some real life examples. So let's take a look again. From here. I'll just do this for OOP. For inheritance, I'll keep it short. Inheritance. What is inheritance? Inheritance has to do with parent-child, design structure, where you don't want to repeat so many of the attributes that are available to the parent class. Then we look at car. And then we look at different types of car. We look at truck and all that. So for inheritance, we say it's a parent, child, or children, cascade. Let's put it that way. So it's that kind of relationship. For example, you have a parent class called vehicle. We have a parent class called vehicle. If you are not seeing what I'm typing, you may refresh your screen. So we have vehicle, and then from vehicle we can have like a car, we can have truck. They are also type of vehicle. They are type of vehicles. They are type of vehicles. So that is inheritance. Here you have for every vehicle, a vehicle will have tires. A vehicle will be able to turn, that is accelerate, decelerate. A vehicle should also have doors. So the car is a type of vehicle. We can look at it as saloon car, and other ones like jeep. Then we also have truck, which is a type of vehicle for heavy load and all that. So that is inheritance at play. And what else we did discuss? Encapsulation. So when somebody is asking you about OOP, what is OOP? OOP is object-oriented programming language. And what are the features of OOP, or the concept of OOP? Concept of OOP means that everything is treated as an object. Everything is an object. That's the concept of OOP. Everything is an object. A door is an object. A human being is an object, and this object can be acted upon. So you can add verb to it. So when we talk about the concept of OOP in a problem statement is anything that can be referenced. Anything that can be referenced or acted upon. Or acted upon. Anything that can be referenced or acted upon is an object within a problem statement. So for the object, they have name or label, attributes, and then they have actions that what can be performed on them or what they can do. So talk about inheritance. Let's look at encapsulation. Encapsulation has to do with hiding some properties, what you don't want to expose. Just like human being have a concept called private parts, which is why we wear clothes to cover something that is not supposed to be exposed to the public. So that's the concept of encapsulation, using private variable. Encapsulation using private variables, private variables and public method. So here you have a variable that you don't want to be altered, but can only be altered by the class itself, but you can expose a public method to take action on that variable. That's the concept of encapsulation. There's another concept that I mentioned, which is polymorphism. Poly comes from many, and then morphism has to do with forms. Morphism has to do with forms. So when we say polymorphism, we are talking about many forms. So an object can take many forms. An object can take many methods. You understand? So that's the concept of polymorphism. So let's take a look. For example, let's say polymorphism. Excuse me. For polymorphism, we'll be looking at let's say shape. A shape. Now, from a shape class, we can derive circle. We can derive triangle. We can derive square, and so on and so forth. So when it takes many forms, that is a polymorphism. And then one of the ways to implement polymorphism is to probably use an interface, or to use what we call abstract class. So abstract as is a class implementation where the concrete methods are not implemented, left for another class to be implemented. So you can have shape, and then you can extend shape. For example, circle. The circle can extend can extend shape, and then you can implement any method in shape. Say a shape has a method called calculate area. Method calculate area. So this calculate area, if we have say class shape or abstract class shape, we can say it has let's say abstract void say calculate area. Now we are saying that any class that implements this, any class that extends shape, needs to write the actual method for calculating the area. Otherwise the system will throw error, so that is what's for abstract method. Now, so we can from there we can move on to what a clean architecture is. Clean architecture. A clean architecture has to do with a software design approach that separates the concept into different layers. So here, for these different layers, you can have things like a UI. You can have use cases. You can have like data to ensure the maintainability. Maintainability. Okay, so that's about clean architecture. For clean code, when we talk about clean code, so I have maintainability, and then testability. That is, must be testable or testability. That's so when you are asked about the concept of clean architecture, you should know that. So when we talk about clean code, what does it mean by clean code? Clean code means that you have meaningful variables, so you have like meaningful variables that are easy to read code, right? Modifiable, and then following variable names, and then they should have something we call a single responsibility. That is, a code or a class should be focused on doing one certain responsibility. For example, a class can be to focus on customer, so it can deal with the crude functionality of that customer. A class can be focused on just calculating area, so it should be focused on that and not do anything else. So that's the concept of clean code. For a good class should have a minimal dependency. Good class should have minimal dependencies, and as well as a single responsibility. So it should be focused on performing single or certain responsibility. In terms of dependencies, it should be, minimal dependencies. Minimal dependencies. Minimal dependencies. When it comes to bad class, of course, is opposite of good class. Bad class means that it has multiple dependencies and has too many things that it is doing. So when you are writing a new code, so when writing new code, what do? We need to focus on following coding standards. Using meaningful names. Use meaningful names and document when necessary. Document when necessary. Okay, so that's about writing new code. And then greenfield development. I mentioned it earlier on. When we talk about greenfield, we are talking about new project. Greenfield development. So it means that new project, maybe to write a Uber clone, order management system, car data measurement, car friction measurement, that is starting any project from scratch. That's called greenfield development. And then it's also, you have to do what? Requirement gathering. Here, new project built from scratch. And then gather requirements. That leads us to Scrum. Today we talk about agile session, where you do planning and review of project that you need to do, and then moving out, deploying as soon as possible, releasing features, as small and as fast as possible. So that is agile environment. And for agile environment, something that is core to it is Scrum. So you can have Scrum sessions. Scrum has to do with discussing different issues or needs per project. So it allows us to break a project into multiple parts or steps, and then setting the goals to what needs to be achieved within a 2-week period. So for a 2-week period, we call it a sprint. A two-week development period. That's a sprint. So whenever you are in a team, you have like the coordinator within the team, and that coordinator is called the Scrum Master, because he's the one that he or she is the one that will be asking others for updates. So you have a sprint, and then you also have what we call PI planning. Here you are talking about performance index, which has to do with the goal that we need to achieve, maybe in a quarter. Quarter has to do with maybe a 3-month period. So what do we need to achieve? For example, if we are building an Uber clone system, we may say that, okay, the first 3 months or this quarter, what we want to achieve is that we should be able to have a database setup, a basic driver record setup, and then inventories. Let's say inventories now. So let's say we have inventories. I might say that, we can't achieve inventories now. Let's move that to next quarter. So whatever thing you can achieve within that quarter is done for sprint planning. And then you also have what we call a daily stand-up. Daily stand-up has to do with the meetings that you do, meetings with the team, to discuss progress reports for individual. So progress report for individuals. That's what you do in daily stand-up. Maybe your task is to write the database query, and then the CRUD operation for the back end. So when we meet, you give updates, and you are having challenges. We'll discuss that, for the daily, stand up. And then, of course, we have a sprint planning. Sprint planning. What do we do here? We look at what we are going to achieve for the next 2 weeks. So at the end of every 2 weeks, you do what we call sprint review. Sprint review here. What do? We take a look at what we review of goals, setbacks, performance. So here you look at, okay, what did you do that makes you to achieve your goal or do something better, or what are the things that slow you down for not achieving that? Maybe there are too many complaints or too many bugs, or it takes too much time to review, or too much time spent in meeting to argue when nothing has been done. So that is what you do during sprint review, and then you can look at unanimously deciding on what need to be removed, what not to be done again. If you are spending 30 minutes, maybe that 30 minutes should be cut down to 15 minutes. So you agree on that. For sprint planning, this is where you look at, okay, what are the things that we need to achieve for the next quarter. The next 2 weeks. We want to look at trips. We should be able to handle trips. We should be able to set up trips. We'll be able to link trips with a driver and a rider. So we have that, and then this can be broken down to different steps. Maybe somebody taking the straight trip, somebody calculating the time average that needs to be done, somebody handling the transactions. So we can have that for the sprint planning, and then somebody is dedicated to testing. So that is done in sprint planning. So when we do that, then we break these goals. We break it down to simpler tasks. So these tasks are what are distributed within the team. So basically, this is what you do, especially if you're a Scrum Master or you are aiming at becoming a Scrum Master. These are basic stuff that you will be doing on daily. It also means that you be able to you are vocal enough to talk to both technical team and the management. Oftentimes you'll be liaising with the management as you bring the management updates or decision to your team. So you are more like responsible for the team, even though you can have a manager within your team who is just having a managerial supervising, but then a Scrum Master will still be within the team. You can have architects, you can have engineers, you can have tester within the team, and then you can have a UI UX experts. So those are the things we look at. And then we look at design patterns, symbol in factory observer. When we come back to backend, we will treat design patterns. We will treat what we call microservices architecture. But something else I think I need to bring our understanding to is one of the design paradigm call a solid and keys. You may be asked this during interview at any time also, so you need to understand it and you need to bring it to your development, because that's one of the things I'll be assessing from our code. For solid principle has to do with what I've been talking about, which is single responsibility. So when you are development, when they say that you should follow a solid principle, they are saying that you should have you should take account single responsibility. You should take account open and close, that is open for extension, for update, and close for extension. That's what it means. Then we also have substitution, list call substitution. You can just Google what a solid design is, and then we have an interface. The concept of interface is to guide the team or the developer or the engineer in implementing a concept that has been put in place and not deviate from it. So for keys is it says that keep it simple and stupid. That is, it may be so simple that you think that this is stupid, but the idea is that this favors what we call simplicity in design and coding. So don't just write a class that has like 500 lines of code, 5,000 lines of code. That is not maintainable. Keep it as simple as possible to focus on what you should do. If it is just to gather data, it should be that. That is what design paradigm is. Okay, so the task I gave us the last time, I think we dealt with students, and then I asked us to look at our various assignments. Let me look at task 2. I asked us to let me see. Okay, we have a car, we have interface. Okay, I explained all this. Then I asked us to implement all these objects that we have found in our project. So if you have not done so, please complete that so that I can take a final review. If you have any challenge, type it in the group chat. I'd like to respond. When I respond to your own request, others can also learn from it rather than attending to everyone one by one. Okay, that said, we can move to today's class. So for today's class, we will be looking at front end. As you know, the front end oftentimes is what the user interacts with. The front end is what the user interacts with, and it can actually be any form. It could be web. It could be web. It could be web. It could be web. It could be command line, console, or terminal. It could be mobile, and so on and so forth. It could be terminal and so on and so forth. So we will take a look at that as we proceed. But our focus today is that we are focusing on, focusing on web. We are focusing on web. And for web, the language of web is HTML, which is hypertext terminal language. That's what is used to write HTML. We also look at other hypertext language, descriptive language like XML. We also look at other form of data presentation like JSON and things like that. So for now, we are looking at HTML. And for HTML, there are certain things that you use. It's just like how would I put it? You use HTML to document the web page, just like you use Microsoft Word to write document and things like that. You use HTML, to write those documents. So we'll start with something that is very, very simple. So on your VS Code, create a new file, call it index, create index.html file. So create a file called index.html. 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 Once you have done it, write in the chat box created. Write in the chat box created. If you have created it, write in the chat box created. If you have created index.html, create a file called index.html. 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 If you are not seeing what I'm typing, you can just refresh your screen. So create a file called index.html. When you have done that, type created. Type created. I'm waiting. Create a file called index.html. Create a file called index.html. And after you have done that, type, if you are struggling, just open the notepad and make sure that the extension ends with .html. Create a file called index.html. codified core index.html, and inside index.html we'll start with this, the most important tag called all our tags starts with all this preprocessor that processes whatever thing we write. Is a kind of way of taking input or command from us and translate it to something very readable. So the first tag is called HTML, and then you open a tag by putting it inside angular brackets. Open it angular brackets. You have angular brackets. You have angular brackets, and then for that angular bracket, you end a tag by the same angular bracket. But here, notice the forward slash of the opening tag, opening angular bracket, and the closing with the angular bracket. So that's HTML. And if you save this file, if you save it, it will show your web browser icon if it is saved as .html, and you can double click on it on your file on your system. .html, you can double click it on your system, So if you do that, this will open up a blank page. This will open up a blank page for you. This will open up a blank page for you, and then you can, when you double click it and do that, within the HTML tag, you can now have the internal tags. The first tag is called the header tag. Header. The header tag gives the information. It gives information about the document. So the header tag tells us about the document. So anything can be put in the header. For example, the title of the document. Just like you open a Word document now, you can have the title. So the title is what shows in the browser. The title is what shows in the browser. So that's for the header tag. And then we have another tag called the body tag. Body. The body tag contains the document details. That's the body tag. And there is another one called the footer. The footer. The footer tag contains like footnotes or other information, footnotes or other information, other info. I wouldn't put it info or data to polish the document. So you can see now HTML contains what? You open an HTML document, a web document, by writing the HTML tag and close it with an HTML tag. And then within the HTML tags, you can have these three major tags. The first one is called header. The second one is the body, which contains the body of the document. Like when you use Gmail to send mail or any other mailer, you have like subject. So the header tag is like the subject, that also contains the correspondences, that is the sender and the receiver. So the same thing is what the header is doing here. The body contains the actual document, and the footer contains other footnotes or information or other stuff to polish the HTML document, right? So we look at that. Now, since you have header, you have footer, you have body, you have this, make sure that all these are saved in the HTML file, in the index.html that asks us to put there. Once you have done that, save it, double click the file again to open in your browser, or if it's already open in your browser, just click the refresh button on your browser. You should see document details, document details. You will see document details. So I'll just take this, I'll create a new file, and I'll name my own index.html inside our Bootcamp, and then I think instead of putting it here, I'll just say web. Let me create a folder called web. So I move my index.html to the web folder. Okay. So I move it to the web folder. And so if I double click on this, you will see that we have the document details. Let me see. Can I show design view? Let's see. I'm thinking of splitting my screen, but I won't do that. Let's just use so I will just go to this folder. Let me see. Bonus develop Bootcamp, and then web, and then .html. So if you let's say that our screen is Chrome, right? Google Chrome, and from the Google Chrome, if I project this, you will see that, just refresh now, you will see that what we have here now is just what I display, the information about the web. So you will see the information about the web, and that's what you should see when you run your own, when you double click on your own. If you are not getting that, you are not doing the right thing. So have index.html and have that code inside. But you see that everything looks so ugly. This is not how your regular web page looks like. This is not what your regular web page looks like. So let's polish this a little. We're going to go ahead and work on the tags. So we'll go back and work on the tags here. I'm back to VS Code, so you can refresh your screen if you're not seeing what I'm typing. Okay. So here for the footer now, I have something called title. The title is the one that shows the header information, So here I'm just gonna say all I want to do is this, and just copy this. I'm now going to put it inside title of the header, and here I will say Bootcamp web, and this is the detail information about the document. Bootcamp web information about the document. So I'll do this, and then I'll leave the footer like that, and then you will see that the information about the document is no longer showing in the page, but on the top of the bar. So if you go back and refresh your page, this is what you should see. You should see our new web. You see our new web now. The first line has been removed. That has been moved to the document. If you refresh now, you should be able to see document detail. And if you put your browser up, you will see information about it. You will see that title in the address bar. On top of the address bar, you will see it as a title. That's how your various web pages are displayed. You will see some with icon and things like that. So that's what we do. So I'll just add let's do 30 minutes more and close for today. So for the 30 minutes more, let's look at what we can explore here. So we have looked at document layout. So now we want to start polishing the document. Let's look at polishing document processors. This document detail, let's say we want to, if you look at your currently, if you look at the footnotes of your YouTube video, you will see a title called Coding Bootcamp 0 to Hero, bold, and then next you will see 3 people watching now, started streaming 48 minutes ago, and then next you see information about it. Let's try and replicate the 3 lines. So the first one is the title. So we are going to inside the body now. Everything you want to do will be inside the body. So the first one that we are going to look at is that we are looking at H1 tag. The H tag is for fonts. The font and the size of the text. So the H1 is the highest by default. Is the highest. So we will say Coding Bootcamp. 0 to hero. 0 to hero. Then say, what is this? Day 11, right? And then code hero journey. So that's what is in H1 tag. So the next one is that we are going to replicate everything, but we will skip the one that has the my image and the likes and the dislikes and the share. We are going to probably do that in the next class. As for now, let's have this. So you can have another tag. There is H2. H2 is smaller than H1, and there is H3, which is smaller than H2. You can try those ones. So H1, H2, H3. Now, so we have 3 people watching, 3 watching now, streaming 15 minutes ago. Code Bootcamp. Let's add that. Let's say we are going to use a bold tag. There is a tag called bold, is B. So 3 watching, right? You can put 3, you can put 5 watching. And if you are watching, make sure you like the current stream. If you are watching, make sure you like it. So if you are watching currently, just make sure you like it. Make sure you like it if you are watching. So having said that, we have say okay, 2 people are watching now. Okay, good. So 5 watching, 2 watching now. Then say started streaming 52 minutes ago. Code Bootcamp. That is the B tag. 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 So, and then we can have for ordinary text. Ordinary text, let's say we call it a paragraph. Let's write a paragraph. A paragraph is a P tag. The P tag is paragraph. P is for paragraph. P is for paragraph. So write anything you like there. Join our exciting 21-day journey. Then blah 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 blah. I'm just going to duplicate as many text just to feel what we have here. So then I will have another paragraph, and let's just have 2 paragraphs. I'll have another paragraph. What I put there for now doesn't matter, so what you put there does not really matter. So I can just say in this comprehensive journey, then whatever you like, just put there. So, but if you follow what I've been doing, if you are following so far, you should have your screen to look like this. Save it. Save what we have done so far. Save what we have done so far. Save what we have done so far in your file. Then go ahead and refresh your browser. If you go and refresh your browser, we are going to have something like this. So let me project that. Let's see our Chrome. So if I refresh, you should see this. Yours should look like what my own is looking at, rather. If you work on it, you should have this. You should look at this. It should look like that if you have followed what we have done so far. If you have followed what we have done so far, that is what you will get. If you have followed what we have done so far, that is what you will get. That is what you will get. That's what you will get. And so that is for that's for the bold tag. We have used bold tag. We have used a bold tag. We have used header tag. We have used the footer. Now let's add something more. Let's look at italics. Italics is the I tag. To use italic is I tag italics. What do we want to put in italics? So let's create another paragraph. Let's create another paragraph. Let's say so let's create another paragraph here. P tag, but now you know that P tag, and inside our P tag I want to have italics, and this italics I will say this is a comment and should be noted for any update within the app. Within the app. However, we should not blah 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 to the end of comment. Now, so let's say this is our comment. This is our comment. You see, I just put I tag. We want to see how I is rendered. We want to see how I is rendered. So if you save it and you go ahead to refresh, you will see how it looks like. Refresh it. If you refresh your screen now, you should see the comments. You should see the comments in italics. You see it in italics. If it doesn't get render on time, you can just refresh. So you see the comments. Okay. In the next 60 seconds, let's take a look at something else. For every document you write, besides the paragraph, you can go to next line. You can break, sentences to another line instead of just filling up. So let's just say this comment that we have here, we want to break it to, 2 lines. How do you add a line break? How do you add a line break into HTML documents? You use what we call the BR tag. We use the BR tag. BR tag. The BR tag. Okay, so if you look at it now, I want to break this comment from however. I want however to start on a new line. So to do that, I just add this tag called BR. So the BR means that instead of everything to be written in a single line, it will go to the next line. That's what the BR tag means. So that is it. Just save it and refresh. And see the wonder of the BR tag. So here we'll save it and we'll refresh. Save it and refresh. So you will see the new line. You see the new line by the BR tag. So if you do that, you will see that the however now is now jumped to a new line. However, is now starting from a new line with the BR tag. You can refresh your browser, you will see the new update. Okay, I think that should be today. Tomorrow, our day 12, I want us to move faster with HTML. So we'll look at table. We'll look at a table, how to render table data in the HTML. We'll look at buttons, and we'll look at how you click to next page, how you navigate from pages to the other page. Those are the ones that we are going to do for our day 2, and then possibly we'll start JavaScript with that. But for our next class, I want us to finish all the basic thing about HTML data presentation. Thank you so much for hanging on. Thank you for listening today. If you have missed any of it, just go back to the video. And watch. I think I did a lot of recap from the beginning. Thank you so much for listening. Enjoy your evening.